By the time summer arrives, your air conditioner has already been failing for months. You just cannot see it yet. 3 million units are replaced every year in the United States, $14 billion in annual repair costs. 87% of American homes run a system that most homeowners have never once inspected. The failure does not start when the heat hits. The heat just finishes what winter has already started. The system shuts down in September. Nobody touches it until May. 6 months pass. The homeowner flips the thermostat. The unit kicks on. Everything seems fine. Then June arrives. Then the first real heat hits. Then the system dies. That sequence plays out in millions of homes every single year. The dormancy period is not the problem. What happens during those 6 months without anyone checking is the problem. Here is what actually happens while your AC sits idle through fall and winter. Capacitors inside the unit slowly lose their ability to hold an electrical charge. Temperature swings from cold nights to warm afternoons stress the internal components repeatedly. Refrigerant leaks through pinhole cracks in the lines. Those leaks are invisible. They have no smell. You cannot detect them without professional gauges. The system loses refrigerant slowly, quietly, across the entire winter. Algae and mold start growing inside the condensate drain line. That drain line removes moisture from the air during cooling. When nothing is running, standing water sits in the line for months. By spring, the line is partially blocked. Rodents and insects find their way into the outdoor condenser unit. Wiring terminals corrode from repeated moisture exposure. None of this is visible from the outside. The unit looks exactly the same as it did in September. You turn it on in May. It runs. You assume it works. What you cannot see is that 3 or 4 components are already degraded. They hold together through the mild spring temperatures. The first week, the all-outdoor temperature climbs past 90 degrees. The heat load on the system doubles. The already weakened parts meet that load for the first time. That is when the failure happens. Not because the summer arrived, because the damage was already done. Every air conditioner failure, regardless of brand, age, or price point, follows one of 3 paths. All 3 paths end at the same place: the compressor. The compressor is the single most expensive component in the system. When it fails, the repair bill typically exceeds the value of replacing the entire unit. The industry knows this. The 3 paths to compressor failure are the capacitor, the fan motor, and the coils. The capacitor is the most common HVAC repair call in the country. Its job is to store electrical charge and deliver it to the motors that start and run the system. Heat degrades capacitors. Sitting dormant through winter weakens them further. The first hot startup of the season is the highest stress moment the capacitor faces all year. A failing capacitor does not always die immediately. It runs weak. It strains the compressor silently for days or weeks. Replacing a capacitor costs $150 to $300. Ignoring a weak capacitor leads to compressor failure. Compressor failure costs $1,500 to $3,000. Often it triggers a full system replacement. The fan motor follows the same pattern. Every AC unit has 2 fans. One moves air across the indoor evaporator coil. One expels heat from the outdoor condenser unit. The outdoor fan sits through winter temperature extremes. Bearings seize. Motor windings burn out from repeated stress. When that outdoor fan motor fails, the condenser cannot release heat. The compressor overheats. The system shuts down or burns out entirely. Fan motor repair costs $300 to $400. The compressor failure it causes costs 10 to 15 times that. Dirty filters and coils close out the 3rd path. A clogged filter forces the compressor to work 15% harder, according to the U.S. Department of Energy. Dirty condenser coils trap heat instead of releasing it. The system runs hotter than it was designed to run. Ice builds on the evaporator coil. Airflow drops. The compressor strains under every cycle. Neglected systems consume 15 to 20% more energy before they fail. The rising energy bill is the warning. Most homeowners do not read it as one. The cascade is always the same. A small, cheap component degrades. Nobody catches it. The compressor absorbs the strain for weeks or months. Then the compressor dies. A capacitor that costs $200 to replace takes a $3,000 compressor with it. A drain flush that cost $150 prevents water damage, mold, and a full system shutdown. The expensive failure almost never starts with the expensive part. Half of the systems failing this summer were never right to begin with. The failure did not start with neglect. It started at installation. Volume builders across the country pay HVAC subcontractors per house, not per hour. The faster the subcontractor finishes, the more money they make. Proper system sizing requires manual J and manual D calculations. That is software analysis of a home's square footage, insulation levels, window placement, and climate zone. Most building codes require it. In practice, the subcontractor installs whatever unit is sitting on the truck that morning. A system rated to move 1,200 cubic feet of air per minute, delivering 900 through undersized ducts, creates a problem called short cycling. The system turns on, cannot meet the demand fast enough, turns off, turns back on. That cycle repeats dozens of times per day. Every short cycle puts mechanical stress on the compressor. A compressor designed to last 15 years burns out in 8 to 10 under short cycling conditions. Up to 80% of homes have duct sizing or installation deficiencies. The homeowner feels warm in July and blames the brand. The brand blames the installer. The installer points to the builder. The builder incorporated in another state and dissolved 4 years ago. The ductwork compounds everything. Flex duct, the corrugated plastic tubing running through attics in the majority of new construction homes, degrades in heat. Attic temperatures hit 140 degrees in summer. The EPA estimates homes lose 20 to 30% of conditioned air through duct leaks before it ever reaches the living room. You pay for 100% of the cooling, you receive 60 to 80. The system runs longer to compensate. The compressor cycles more. The lifespan shortens. None of this shows up on the invoice when the house was built. Now add the refrigerant transition happening right now. As of January 2025, all new units must use R454B or R32 instead of R410A. These new refrigerants require different tools, different handling procedures, and updated technician certification. The HVAC industry is already short 110,000 technicians nationwide. Training for the new refrigerants takes time the industry does not have. Meanwhile, the existing supply of R410A is shrinking every quarter. Repairs on your current system require R410A. The price per pound keeps climbing. The availability keeps dropping. You are caught between a system that costs more to fix every year and a replacement that costs more to buy every year. The installation was wrong from day one. The repair economics get worse every season. The technicians who install these systems for a living do not manage their own homes this way. They follow 3 rules without exception. The first rule is April, not June. The annual tune-up happens in spring, before the demand surge, before the waiting lists, before the supply houses get picked over. A maintenance visit in April costs $150 to $350. It covers capacitor condition, refrigerant levels, coil cleaning, drain line flush, and full electrical inspection. One prevented compressor failure covers 4 to 5 years of those visits. Homeowners on maintenance contracts get priority scheduling. When July hits and the phones are jammed, contract holders get callbacks within 24 hours. Everyone else waits. The second rule is replace the cheap part before it kills the expensive one. If a technician tells you the capacitor is reading weak but has not failed yet, you replace it that day. $150, not because it has failed, because what it will take with it when it does fail costs 20 times more. The condensate drain line gets flushed every year. $150, ignored, it backs up, damages ceilings, triggers mold remediation, and shuts the system down mid-summer. A surge protector on the AC disconnect costs $50 to $150. One power surge from a summer thunderstorm destroys a circuit board that runs $400 to $800 to replace. The third rule is filters, clearance, and coils on a fixed schedule. Filter replaced every 30 to 90 days. 2 feet of clearance are maintained around the outdoor unit at all times. Condenser coils are cleaned annually. Every one of these steps protects the same component, the compressor. Because everything in the system exists to keep the compressor alive, and once the compressor goes, you are not calling a technician. you are calling a salesperson.